Since they were kids, the girl next door was the undisputed beauty queen of their school. She'd cried buckets begging to marry him someday, but people change, don't they? Kloe conveniently forgot all about their childhood promise of forever. Instead, she turned her back on him, falling for some random blonde punk. And right from that first meeting, she began skipping classes and even dyeing her hair, following that guy into shady bars. Naturally, her grades plummeted into the dirt. No matter how much our main character tried to warn her or pull her back, she refused to listen. So in the end, during a huge fight between them, he threw his own body in the way, blocking a blade the punk aimed right at her. But as he was lying in the hospital, bleeding out and gasping his last breaths, Kloe actually had the nerve to blame him. She looked at him with nothing but pure resentment. She said he was the reason her precious boyfriend was headed to jail. Swallowing that bitter taste of complete betrayal, he closed his eyes. But when he opened them again, he found himself right back on that fateful day. The day Kloe skipped class with him for the first time, her entitled voice snapped him back to reality. "Mac, what are you spacing out for? Hurry up and give me my breakfast." He glanced down at the breakfast in his hands, but this time, he didn't move a single inch. The next second, the corner of his lips curled into a smile that held 1,000 hidden meanings. "Who said this breakfast was prepared for you? Do you honestly believe you deserve to eat it?" His voice was a cold mix of total freedom and biting sarcasm. Kloe froze. She had never, ever heard him speak to her that way before. It was as if he'd become an entirely different person. He remembered in his past life on this day. After she took the breakfast from him, she skipped school with Chad. From that moment on, her entire life spiraled down. No matter how much he tried to step in, she just wouldn't listen. And Chad, annoyed by his interference, started his revenge. He had his lackeys harass our hero, destroy his study materials. And he even spread rumors about him cheating on exams. Because of all that, his grades completely tanked. He was supposed to get into a top-tier university, but instead he ended up at some average, second-rate college. Right now, hearing his icy response, every single classmate turned to stare at him in shock. Before Kloe confessed to Chad, everyone admired their childhood sweetheart bond. No one ever expected her to choose that blonde delinquent. Noticing the stares, Kloe frowned, unable to hide her annoyance. "Mac, do you even know what you're saying?" But just as she finished, her phone went off on her desk. He knew exactly who it was, a text from Chad asking her to sneak out. And sure enough, after she read it, her face lit up with a smile she couldn't possibly contain. She shot him a glare. "Mac, I'm in a good mood, so I'm not gonna argue with you. I'm leaving for a bit. Make sure you cover for me with the teachers, all right?" With that, she turned to walk out of the classroom. But he called out, stopping her dead in her tracks. "Kloe, I'll give you exactly 1 day to pay back the $3,000 you owe me." "What? When did I owe you money?" From middle school to high school, he'd bought her breakfast 900 times. "Oh, and that includes the phone he bought for her. Hand it over. Why are you being so petty?" She sneered. "Petty?" He just let out a cold laugh. "Why don't you ask yourself? In all these years, what have you ever given me? Pay me back from now on." We keep our distance. His simp era was officially over, hearing the whispers around them. Kloe felt completely humiliated. "Fine, I'll pay you back. We are totally over." Her family was wealthy, so she never had a problem with pocket money. But just in the last few days, trying to please Chad, she had bought him a new phone and even a motorcycle. Paying Mac back meant she'd have almost nothing left, but to save face in front of everyone, she gritted her teeth and made the transfer. After Kloe stormed off, Mac looked around the familiar classroom and realized something incredible. His memory had reached a whole new level. He could remember every classmate's name and every single textbook he had ever read. "Is this the legendary cheat code from Rebirth?" He smiled to himself. In this second life, he absolutely refused to be anyone's doormat. Using memories from his past life, he was going to make sure Chad's reputation was dragged through the mud and Kloe would be left to live With the bitter taste of regret, outside, Kloe was fuming. I just went out to have fun once. Did he have to make such a big scene? I didn't even do anything wrong. Kloe, let's go. A blonde guy looking like a textbook. Delinquent but undeniably handsome, walked over, despite being a huge red flag. To everyone else, Chad was a perfect prince in Kloe's eyes. She smiled brightly and followed him right out of school. Back in the classroom, the rhythmic sound of high heels echoed in the hall. It was Miss Turner there. Homeroom teacher. Her eyes quickly scanned the room, locking onto Kloe's empty seat. Frowning, she looked right at Mac. Mac, come to my office. For a moment, the rest of you, self-study. He was about to stand up when his phone pinged. He opened it and saw Kloe had just posted an update on social media. In the picture, she sat on the back of a motorcycle, her hair blowing in the wind, with her arms wrapped tightly around the blonde guy's waist. She smiled like she had won the lottery. Looking at the photo, Mac felt absolutely zero heartbreak. Honestly, he just found it hilarious, since she got a phone. He had never once made an appearance on her feed, and yet, after knowing Chad for a few days, there he was. Mac smirked, hit like on her post, unpinned her from his chat list, and put her on Do Not Disturb. Good riddance. Out on the main road, a motorcycle engine roared. It was Chad and his gang of lackeys speeding down the street. A lackey looked at Kloe and teased, Chad, your girl is gorgeous. If I found a girl like her, I wouldn't mind dying tomorrow. Hearing the flattery, Chad's ego ballooned to the size of a planet. He loved the feeling of being worshipped. Choosing Kloe as his girlfriend was basically just a trophy move to show off to his boys. But right then, Kloe was not having nearly as much fun as they were, experiencing high speeds and adrenaline for the first time. Her initial excitement was quickly being replaced by pure panic. Seeing the numbers on the speedometer climb, she began to tremble. Chad, you're going too fast. Chad just laughed loudly. Fast? You haven't even seen my real speed yet. And with that, he accelerated. The cold wind howled in her ears as her fear intensified. Her vision blurred. For some reason, an image of Mac popped into her head. Subconsciously, she opened her app, planning to text Mac to come get her. But when she opened her phone, she saw he had liked her post. Kloe froze, unable to figure out what Mac was thinking. After a moment, she typed a few words against the whipping wind. Mac, I don't blame you for this morning. Can you come get me? The message sent. No reply. A wave of crushing disappointment washed over Kloe. In the past, he would have replied in seconds. Why was it different now? The wind howled, blurring the scenery as tears welled in her eyes. She choked out a desperate voice note. Mac, please answer. I'm so scared. Chad glanced back, saw her pitiful state, and his heart softened just a bit. He slowed the bike down, but just then a rock appeared out of nowhere, right under his tire. Despite his reflexes, the motorcycle skidded and crashed. Kloe screamed, hitting the pavement hard. Her knee was scraped up badly, blood instantly staining her jeans. In agony, she looked up and saw Chad wasn't running to her. He was frantically trying to pick up his precious motorcycle first. Her heart just shattered with anger and disappointment. Only after checking that his bike wasn't too damaged, and after a nudge from his lackey, did Chad finally turn to Kloe. Seeing her pathetic state, he started to panic. Babe, are you okay? Tears streamed down Kloe's face as she completely ignored him. Chad immediately began apologizing, and with his sweet words and handsome face, her disappointment actually started to fade. My knee hurts so much, I'm not riding that thing anymore. Take me back to school. Guilt-ridden, Chad quickly helped her stand. It's my fault. I'll get you to the school nurse right now. Meanwhile, Mac had followed Miss Turner into her office. Mac, I need to talk to you, she started. Is this about Kloe, Miss Turner? He sat and asked directly. You're sharp. I heard she skipped class this morning. Is that true? Mac simply nodded. Kloe has so much potential. I hate to see it ruined by some teenage drama. You two are close, so I hope you can talk sense into her. Mac kept his face completely neutral. Teacher, you know why she left. Right now, she won't listen to anyone. This is her own choice. From now on, he has zero interest in her business. In his past life, he had literally paid with his own life, proving that no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't change her. Miss Turner looked disappointed, but seemed to understand. Betrayal hurts, who wouldn't be upset? She sighed and dropped the subject, reminding him about his upcoming college exams. As he left, she mentioned one more thing. Recently, a student from the arts track is transferring to our sciences class. Try to help her out, okay? He was slightly confused. In his previous life, there was no transfer student. Still, he simply nodded. Understood, he walked back to class just as the bell rang. Mac had barely sat down when Vivan, Chloe's best friend from next door, came rushing in. Their relationship was anything but friendly. In his past life, when he tried to do something nice for Kloe, Vivan always played the gatekeeper, constantly setting up tests and obstacles for him. Right now, she looked absolutely frantic. Mac, have you seen Kloe? I can't find her. He couldn't help but laugh. Vivian, do you seriously have the IQ of a rock? Was he a goldfish keeper, her dad? How was he supposed to know where she went? Vivan was stunned. She never expected him to talk back with that kind of attitude. His deskmate Harry frowned and chimed in. You're her best friend and you didn't even know she skipped school this morning. Why are you bothering Mac? Turns out Vivan was late to school and missed the entire drama. Another student quickly filled her in. Hearing the story, Vivian turned to him, furious. Mac, it's definitely because you didn't give her breakfast. You made her sad, that's why she skipped. Mac just smirked. No brain cells, just like he thought. He'd cut ties with her. Whether she eats breakfast or dirt was none of his business. Just then, the teacher walked in. Vivan shot him a venomous glare before scurrying back to her class. Harry patted his shoulder. Don't let her get to you, bro. Don't let her words shake your resolve. In his past life, Harry had seen through Kloe's true nature early on and constantly warned him to stay away from her. When he failed his exams, Harry was the one who helped him out. He was genuinely worried Mac would fall back into his old simp habits, but Mac just shook his head. I don't know anything about her business, and I care even less. Don't mention her again. Hearing this, Harry smiled, looking like a huge weight had just been lifted off his chest. Mac pulled out his notebook and began drafting a web novel. The year was 2012, the golden age of web novels. After a morning of thought, he decided to write his first book. The Flawless Realm. An absolute masterpiece from his past life that even got an anime adaptation. With his photographic memory, he remembered every single comma. All he had to do was act like a human printer. By the end of the period, he had already finished the first chapter. He just needed to go home and upload it. Suddenly, Vivan's annoying voice rang out. Mac, Kloe is hurt. Come help her to her seat. Mac frowned, his gaze shifting to the door. Vivan was supporting Kloe, whose face was as pale as a sheet. Her first time skipping school, and she already got injured. Classic. Seeing him sitting perfectly still, Vivian stomped her foot. Mac, you are too much. She's hurt and you don't even care. Kloe's face grew even paler. She looked at him, her voice trembling. Mac, do you really not care about me anymore? What did I do wrong? I'm hurt, it hurts so much. Aren't you even going to ask if I'm okay? He scoffed. Kloe, what exactly is our relationship that requires me to care about you? You literally just got a new boyfriend, didn't you? Resentment flashed in Kloe's eyes. What do you mean by that? I mean exactly what I said. I'm not your dad, I'm not your mom, and I am not your boyfriend. I have zero obligation to babysit you. Vivan couldn't stand it. Why are you being so petty? Even if she has a boyfriend, you two are childhood friends. Do you have to be so cold? I already told you, her business has nothing to do with me. Stop bothering me. Kloe looked utterly defeated. Mac, you've changed. You've changed so much, I don't even recognize you. Those words were so ironic they physically hurt. Yeah, he had changed, but who changed first? In his past life, because of a promise made when they were 8, he sacrificed his future and his life. He gave her everything, and in return, he got a look of pure hatred as he died. He looked at her, his voice dripping with mockery. We've known each other for years, Kloe. Who changed first? You know the answer better than I do. She froze, staring at him like he was some complete stranger. Mac, acting like this will only make me hate you. He fired back, oh, did you ever actually like me? His question sent her into a complete panic. Did she? Maybe, but she liked the version of Mac who was top of the class, the one who acted as her loyal personal butler. She lowered her head, unable to find a single word. Vivian helped her to her seat. Kloe. He's just being petty. We don't need to pay him any mind. Kloe sat down, slowly wincing as the wound on her knee flared in pain. Suddenly, Vivian gasped. Oh no, I forgot to get your medicine from the nurse. Another guy sitting behind them immediately jumped to his feet. Kloe, I'll go get it for you. See, being the school beauty meant Kloe never lacked guys willing to be her personal errand boys. Glancing at the guy in front of her, she couldn't even remember his name. But just to spite Mac, she forced a sweet smile. Thank you, so sorry for the trouble. The guy looked like he'd just been blessed by an angel and sprinted off immediately. Vivian headed back to her class. Soon enough, the guy returned with the medicine. Kloe took it, then purposely waved it in Mac's direction as a flex to show that even without him, she had plenty of options. But Mac, he didn't even bother to look up. Furious, she let out a cold huff and looked away, and right then, the sound of heels clicking down the hall straight for the classroom. Kloe panicked. Was the teacher here? Would she find out she'd skipped? She instinctively shot a look at Mac, silently blaming him for not covering her. Miss Turner walked in, Chloe's worst nightmare. Her nightmare came true. Kloe, come to my office. She tensed. Yes, Miss Turner. Then she faked a pained expression, letting out a small cry. Ouch. Turner paused. The teacher glanced at the bandage on her knee and frowned. Fine, we'll talk after. Your wound heals. Harry watched this whole act with pure disgust. Since when was she so manipulative? He turned to Mac. Hey, my brother and sister are back this Sunday. Let's go grab a bite. If you actually hit it off with my sister, you can just call me brother-in-law. Mac just laughed and shoved him. Dude, we're seniors in high school. Who has time for romance? Just then a noise echoing from the hallway. Mac glanced out and saw a flash of blonde hair. It was Chad. His eyes narrowed. This was the man who directly caused his death in his previous life. But this time around, Mac wasn't going to let him get away with it. He breathed in. In his past life, he had secretly gathered evidence on Chad to expose him to Kloe. Hard proof of his crimes, the worst being when he beat up a fellow student. So badly the kid was left permanently disabled. Mac needed that proof again. But he needed it much earlier this time. He pulled out his phone, texting his uncle. This uncle was a self-made billionaire, a business titan whose wealth could easily match Chad's entire family. Uncle, can you help me investigate something? Mac typed. He explained the situation, put his phone away, and locked his eyes on Chad outside. I'm going to make you pay for everything, he vowed internally, not just what you did to me, but for everyone you've stepped on. The school bell rang, and Mac packed his bag. As he went to leave, Chad blocked the classroom door, a single red rose clamped between his teeth as he struck a pose for Kloe. Babe, I'm here to pick you up. Kloe wanted to stand, but froze when she saw the disdainful glares from the entire class. She was too embarrassed to move. Chad frowned, then noticed Mac trying to slip past. He flicked his ridiculously bright blonde hair with a smirk. Chad provoked him. Oh, if it isn't the genius Mac. Just so you know, Kloe is very, very happy with me. He clearly expected Mac to lose his mind. But instead, our hero just curled his lip, gave him a look of pure pity, and spat out two perfect words. Absolute Chad. That did it. Chad clenched his fists, grinding his teeth, ready to swing. But right on cue, the dean's voice boomed. Chad, why are you blocking the door? Get moving. Chad jumped. Yes, sir, I was just looking for Mac. The dean just sneered. If you have academic questions, come to my office. If not, get lost. Chad shot Mac a death glare and slunk away. Mac simply slung his backpack over his shoulder and headed out. But then unexpectedly, Kloe called out, "Mac, wait, my leg still hurts. Can you take me home?" Mac acted like he'd gone completely deaf and just walked straight past her. Kloe watched his cold, retreating back, tears falling like broken pearls. "Jerk, I hate you." Meanwhile, Mac just rode his bike home, looking at his familiar front gate as a wave of guilt hit him. In his past life, his parents had such high hopes for him. But his mediocre college results nearly gave them a heart attack. This time, he was going to be their pride and joy. After a nice family dinner, he went to his room, booted up his PC, and got to typing. Writing this novel was basically like copying and pasting it right from his brain. His typing speed was insane. In just 2.5 hours, he cranked out 20,000 words, 10 chapters done. He was browsing for a platform to upload it to when a pop-up ad appeared. He was about to close it, but the text caught his eye. Tomato Novels, 80-20 revenue split for authors. Authors retain all electronic, film, and media rights. Mac immediately checked out the site. It looked standard, but with a quality novel like The Flawless Realm, it would blow up anywhere. He registered an account and uploaded the first 12 chapters and hit apply for contract. At that exact moment, in a luxurious mansion, a girl named Harper stood alone on her balcony, staring into the distance, waiting for her parents. Her cousin Grace walked up behind her. "Harper, let's go back inside. Your parents probably aren't coming home tonight." Disappointment flashed in Harper's eyes, but she stubbornly shook her head. "I know they're busy, but they promised they would come home today." Grace's heart ached. She knew this seemingly strong girl was desperately craving her parents' love. Harper's father, Mr. Harrison, was a billionaire workaholic. It was the exact reason her mother had divorced him. "Let's just go to your room. Maybe they'll be back later." Harper quietly nodded and followed Grace inside. Lying next to her cousin, she curiously peeked over at Grace's phone. "Grace, aren't you the CEO of Tomato Novels? Why are you reviewing manuscripts yourself?" Grace offered a bitter smile. "The company is about to go bankrupt." "What kind of CEO am I? I thought taking over would turn things around, but I severely overestimated myself." She tossed the phone aside and sighed in defeat. Harper looked at the screen. There was still one manuscript left unread. "Why not read the last one, The Flawless Realm? That sounds cool. The title is a bit too poetic. It doesn't fit the current market trends, but even if it's poetic, someone put effort into writing it. Just read a little bit." Grace looked fondly at Harper, picked up the phone, intending to just skim it and then reject it. But as she read the prologue, she froze. The world building was epic. The characters were distinct, avoiding all the typical clichés. And the writing was engaging, the prose masterful. Grace devoured all 12 chapters in one breath and was left absolutely craving more. This character was so cute. Harper, experiencing web novels for the first time, was completely fascinated. Grace excitedly planted a kiss on Harper's cheek, calling her lucky star. Harper blushed. Why was she so excited? They didn't even know what would happen next. Harper's words grounded Grace a bit. But to save her platform, she knew she had to bet everything on this one novel. The next morning, Mac booted up his PC, typing until 10 p.m. Looking at the 80,000-word draft, he smiled, satisfied. By tomorrow, he would have enough words to hit the official publishing requirements. He checked his phone and a message popped up. It was Kloe. "Mac, I'm so bored. Can you chat with me for a bit?" He replied coldly. "Didn't you say we were completely done? Why are you texting me?" In a smoke-filled internet cafe, Kloe was sitting next to Chad, who was deep in a game. Seeing Mac's reply, a faint smile appeared on her lips. "I only said that because I was mad yesterday. Let's just forget it, okay? From now on, you're still my good brother." He stared at the text, utterly speechless. She still thought he was her personal servant. Just throw him a bone and he'd come running back, tail wagging. "Kloe, if you don't have anything important to say, don't bother me. And if you do have something important, still don't bother me." Reading that, Kloe furiously threw her phone on the desk. She had lowered herself to apologize. Shouldn't he be begging for her forgiveness immediately? Chad noticed her throwing a tantrum. "Babe, what's wrong?" He reeked of cheap alcohol and stale cigarettes. Kloe covered her nose, disgusted. "Chad, I'm tired. Take me home." Chad just shook his head. "Babe, I haven't finished this raid yet. I'll take you home later." Hearing that, Kloe felt a pit in her stomach. Back then, if she told Mac to jump, he'd ask how high. Now she asked Chad 10 things, and he might do 3 if he felt like it. "But I'm really tired and my clothes smell like smoke." Chad laughed. "You want to go home?" "Sure, just top up my game account first, so I can clear these mobs faster." Looking at his face, Kloe eventually caved in and nodded. Chad smirked inwardly. Asking her for money was just his way of testing her boundaries. Every time he pushed, she gave in. He had successfully taken the good girl out of school and into an internet cafe. Next, he planned to take her to a club to get a tattoo. He was going to completely ruin her image until no one believed she was a good girl anymore. Then she would be entirely dependent on him. At 2 a.m., Kloe woke to find Chad passed out on the keyboard. She felt a huge wave of resentment. Didn't he say he'd take her home after the game? The smell of smoke was unbearable. She stormed out of the cafe and walked to a fancy hotel nearby, but when she swiped her card, it was declined, insufficient funds. Hearing the receptionist's polite but awkward explanation, Kloe's face burned bright red. If Mac hadn't forced her to pay back that $3,000, she wouldn't be in this mess. She only had a few bucks left in her pocket, not even close to enough for a room. It was 2 a.m. Who could she possibly call? She had lied to her parents, saying she was at a sleepover. If she called them for money now, her lie would be exposed. Feeling the receptionist's judgmental gaze, she made up a lame excuse and practically ran out. The lobby, out on the street, she collapsed onto the curb and just broke down. The next morning, inside the Harrison estate, Grace looked incredibly stressed during an emergency video call. She was determined to push all marketing resources into the Flawless Realm project and sign the author exclusively. But the author hadn't logged in, and the staff couldn't reach them at all. Her entire team was sweating bullets. After the meeting, Grace rubbed her neck and stepped out onto the second-floor balcony for some air. In the distance, she saw Harper's lonely silhouette. Harper turned, her eyes red raw. "Grace, I'm so heartbroken," they promised. "Why do they always break their promises?" Grace stroked her hair gently. "They're just busy with work. They probably won't make it." "Work, work, work. It's always about work. They never even think about me." Harper wiped her tears. "I'm done following their rules." "Grace, isn't it true that alcohol helps you forget when you're sad? Can you take me to try it?" Grace looked torn. "Harper, it's your birthday." "Fine, I'll let you be rebellious for just this one day." Meanwhile, the author was staring at an 80,000-word manuscript. A call from Harry broke the silence, reminding them of their plans. After settling on a place to meet, the author rushed out the door. In front of the Starlight Bar, Kloe climbed off of Chad's motorcycle. She couldn't trust his words like she used to. The memory from last night still made her sick. "Babe, don't be mad. Yesterday was my bad. Today I brought you here for some real fun." Kloe hesitated. "Is this place dangerous?" "Dangerous? Nah, come on, let's go in." She totally missed the sleazy glint that flashed in his eyes for a moment. Just as they entered, a sleek black Rolls-Royce pulled up elegantly to the curb. The door opened and Harper leaped out, followed closely by Grace. "Harper, maybe we should find another place," Grace suggested in a low voice. This bar was, in fact, owned by Harper's own father, Mr. Harrison. While it wasn't dangerous, he would absolutely hit the roof if he knew his daughter was here. But Harper acted like she heard nothing and pulled Grace right inside. The bar manager spotted them and nearly had a heart attack. "Miss, what are you doing here?" "Don't worry, my dad won't blame you." Grace quickly pulled the manager aside. "Don't tell my uncle. She's never had a drink before. You know what to prepare, right?" The manager wiped his sweat and nodded like his life depended on it. Soon, a beautiful fruity cocktail was placed in front of Harper. She took a curious sip. The sweet mix of juice and alcohol danced on her tongue as her cheeks flushed. Grace shot the manager a look that could kill. The manager frantically gestured that it was practically non-alcoholic, but then Harper down the whole glass. And just like that, tears started streaming down her face. Her one and only wish was for her parents to spend a single day with her, but it never came true. She began to sob, venting years and years of stored-up loneliness. Seeing this, the manager panicked and made a call to Mr. Harrison. "Boss, the miss is here." She looks totally heartbroken and is crying uncontrollably. On the other end, Mr. Harrison's voice shot up. "Harper is there. I'm on my way now. Keep an eye on her." He immediately bolted right out of his office. On the other side of the bar, Chad waved a waiter over. "Is that Long Island iced tea ready yet?" Now, a Long Island iced tea might sound innocent, but it's famously loaded with hard liquor. It tastes sweet, but it will knock you out cold, erasing your memories. Kloe, however, looked curious, asking Chad if he'd ordered her tea. But then she changed her mind. "Actually, I'll try some alcohol," Chad just smirked. He had been worried she couldn't handle the real stuff on her first try. Before their drinks could arrive, a middle-aged man burst into the bar. His eyes scanned the crowd before locking onto Harper. The manager rushed over. "Mr. Harrison ordered free drinks for everyone. Close the bar early, get them out." The patrons all cheered and left happily, but Chad was absolutely furious. His perfect chance to get Kloe drunk was completely ruined, but he didn't dare complain. So he reluctantly let her go. Mr. Harrison then stormed right over to Harper. He snatched the glass from her hand. "What is this nonsense? You're coming home." Grace quickly stepped in. "Uncle, it's her birthday. She's been waiting for you. She waited all week for you and Auntie to get home, and you both let her down." Harper gave her father an ice-cold glare. "Don't bother, he doesn't care." "Grace, let's go." Mr. Harrison froze. He had completely forgotten his own daughter's birthday. He grabbed her hand. "Harper, Dad was wrong. I broke my promise." "I don't believe you anymore. You only care about work," she cried, ripping her hand away. She ran straight out the door, and her words stabbed him like a knife. He remembered his wife, leaving him years ago for the exact same reason. By the time he snapped out of his daze, Harper was already outside. And at that exact moment, our main character Mac arrived with his friends. His brother Ben had heard about his heartbreak and dragged him out to get cheered up. But they immediately saw everyone leaving. The bar was closing early. Just as they left, Mac spotted Chad and Kloe walking out. "Great, what terrible luck." Kloe saw him and scoffed, still bitter about his attitude the other night. As Mac turned to leave, a girl came sprinting from the bar, crashing into his chest. He looked down at the girl in his arms. "Watch where you're going. Why are you crying?" Seeing her tear-streaked face, he let out a sigh. "Are you all right? Need to sit down." Hearing hurried footsteps coming from behind, the girl grabbed his hand desperately. "I'll pay you," she blurted out. "Be my boyfriend for one day." Mac just blinked. He refused instantly. No way. This had to be some kind of elaborate scam. He tried walking away, but she yanked his arm. $10,000, just be my boyfriend. "For one day, if that's not enough, I can pay you more," looking at her. Head-to-toe designer clothes, he could tell this was a certified rich girl. 10 grand wasn't chump change. His entire net worth was a few $100. If he took that 10 grand and put it into Bitcoin, he would be set for life. He nodded. So fast, in fact, he nearly gave himself whiplash. Hesitating would be a crime. It would be highly disrespectful to that money. He quickly introduced himself as Mac. The girl, Harper, held his hand tightly. "Just play along with what happens next." "Don't say anything," she warned, as Mr. Harrison stepped out of the bar. Seeing their intertwined hands, his face turned dark as thunder. "Harper, who is this punk?" "He's my boyfriend." Grace, who had just caught up, was equally shocked. Since when did Harper even have a boyfriend? Mr. Harrison looked absolutely ready to commit a felony right there on the sidewalk. Harry and Ben watched from afar. They stood on the side, jaws on the floor. "Holy crap," Harry whispered. "Mac has a girlfriend. And she's a total 10. His heart was doing backflips. This was getting intense. The first minute on the job, and he was already clashing with her billionaire father. Mr. Harrison glared right at him. I don't care if you're her boyfriend or not. Get lost, Harper scoffed. We're leaving. Then she dragged him away. From afar, Kloe saw the whole thing unfold, her eyes wide with total shock. Mac has a girlfriend. Why was some other girl next to him, even though she was with Chad? She had always assumed Mac would just be waiting for her forever. He had to be doing this just to make her jealous, playing hard to get. Harper dragged him down the street. The silence was awkward until Mac finally broke it. So, fighting with your dad, she nodded. Judging by his reaction, he seems to care about you a lot. Hearing that, Harper's tears started falling all over again. You don't get it. He only cares about his work. He never cares about how my mom or I feel. She let go of his hand and hailed a cab. Mac sighed, rubbing his temples, and immediately chased after her. He couldn't just leave a girl crying. Besides, he was now obligated to protect his $10,000 investment. In the cab, Harper had nowhere to go. She just stared out the window with red-rimmed eyes. Mac told the driver to just cruise around the city. The driver glanced at them in the rearview mirror, clearly sizing up the situation. Young man, you need to coax your girlfriend when she's upset. Life is full of hurdles. You just got to talk it out. Harper kept her head down, tears silently rolling down her cheeks. Mac just smiled awkwardly, handing her a tissue. They arrived at the riverbank, and Harper asked the driver to pull over. She wanted to walk. The driver gave Mac a parting tip. Kid, make sure you comfort her properly. Mac laughed. Will do, sir. He then turned to Harper. Shall we take a stroll, girlfriend? At that word, Harper's ears turned bright pink. We're only faking it for one day. He smiled softly. The day isn't over yet, is it? Since I took your money, I'm going to provide premium boyfriend services. The river reflected the city lights as they walked slowly. You hired me to make your parents mad so they'd pay attention to you, right? Harper looked at him, a mix of surprise and innocence on her face. How did you know? He chuckled. It's not exactly a mystery. I'm guessing they're always working, never around. So you pulled this stunt to force them to look at you. Am I right? Harper went completely silent. A tear slid down her cheek. A month ago, they promised they would spend this week with me. But today was the last day, and it's my birthday. Mac was slightly taken aback. Her birthday, this poor little rich girl had everything but a family. If you go home tonight, I bet they'll drop everything and rush back. But a forced appearance isn't what you really want, is it? His words hit the bullseye. She didn't want their obligated presence. She wanted genuine warmth. She sighed helplessly. What else can I do? If I don't do this, they won't even call, let alone come home. She suddenly grabbed his arm. Mac, what should we do to make them believe we're actually dating? He tilted his head, smiling at her. Eat, walk, take photos, watch a movie. Where do you want to start, girlfriend? Her heart raced, her cheeks burning. I've never dated before. I don't know, then leave it to me. He pointed at the shimmering river. Let's take a selfie and post it. Sound good? She nodded. He moved in close. Smile. Come a bit closer, you're halfway out of the frame. Harper hesitated, then slowly leaned her shoulder against his. The second they touched, he snapped the photo. That awkward but undeniably sweet moment was captured forever. Harper looked at the phone. She looked shy, but her eyes were practically sparkling. In a flash, she posted it right to her social media, then she turned to him. Mac, let's add each other. I'll transfer. Your money now. He pulled out his own phone, smirking. Oh, my sweet girlfriend, aren't you? Afraid I'll take the money and run, but she just shook her head. I trust you, you don't. Look like a bad guy. Mac went quiet. True, he wasn't a bad guy, but this girl was way too trusting. She was basically a walking bullseye for any scammer. Hearing him call her sweet made her absolutely beam, looking out over the river. She felt a strange sense of peace, despite not having her parents there, and it was all thanks to the guy standing next to her. Thank you, Mac, he smiled back at her. Just enjoying the calm breeze. It had been a long time since he'd felt this relaxed. The last time he was here was in his past life with Kloe. Back then, she had said, Mac will always be together, right? But while Harper and Mac enjoyed the view, Mr. Harrison was experiencing a full-blown Category 5 meltdown. He saw the photo of his daughter, practically glued to some random kid, and his eyes nearly bulged from his head. He gripped his phone so hard the screen literally cracked. She wasn't answering his calls. Is she really with that punk? The thought alone made him dizzy. He immediately mobilized his contacts to search the entire city for them. Meanwhile, Harper's mom, Lily, saw the photo and actually cracked a smile. This kid didn't look half bad. But he still needed to be tested. If he failed, he was out. Harper's phone rang endlessly until she finally just turned the thing off. They walked to a high-end restaurant. They grabbed a window seat, and during dinner, Mac finally learned that Harper used to have poor health. She had attended high school for a bit before dropping out to be homeschooled. Coincidentally, it was his exact same school. Looking at the feast on the table, Harper shyly asked, Mac, can we take another picture here? He smiled and agreed. Click, Harper saw the photo and giggled. After they ate, Mac asked her what was next on the agenda. She hesitated. I want to go shopping for clothes. He glanced at her perfectly tailored designer dress. You need more clothes. She looked away, a bit embarrassed. I wanted to pick out some outfits for you. He stood there in the men's boutique, absolutely bewildered as she pulled out outfit after outfit for him. I have plenty of clothes. You don't need to. You paid for the taxi and the dinner. Buying you clothes to say thank you is normal, right? She argued, looking overly excited. She picked out a few fits that genuinely elevated his entire vibe, and when he stepped out of the fitting room, she waved her hand like a true boss. This one is great, and the other ones he tried on. I'll take them all. He immediately turned to the cashier. She's paying for this outfit I'm wearing. I'll put the rest on my card, but I wanted to gift them to you, Harper protested. He just shook his head. He refused to look like a leech, even to his fake girlfriend. Did you want to buy anything for yourself? She shook her head, her eyes just shining. As they left the store, she said, Boyfriend, let's go to the arcade. I've never been. They headed to a crowded arcade, while everyone else was swarming the fighting games. Harper's eyes were locked on a single claw machine in the corner. She pointed right at it. A pink teddy bear catches his eye. It's cute, so he decides to try and win it. Harper stands rigidly next to him, her eyes practically sparkling with anticipation. He moves the joystick, grabs the bear, but it slips halfway to the chute. Her face falls instantly. Don't worry, let's try again, he says. She nods, focused. This time, he perfectly aligns the claw and prepares to drop the bear. It falls right into the prize slot. Harper jumps up and down, cheering excitedly. Thank you, Mac, this bear is for you. Now I'll win that pink bunny for you. He perfectly maneuvers the claw again, dropping the bunny into the slot. First try, Harper claps her hands and hugs the stuffed animal tightly. Thank you, boyfriend. Seeing her so genuinely happy, Mac realizes this moment feels incredible, a feeling Kloe never gave him. They play games around the arcade, laughing like a real couple. By 10:30 p.m., he tells her it's time to go. Harper, it's getting late. Let me take you home. She stops playing, eyeing her phone. It's filled with missed calls. She doesn't want to go back, but her mission is complete. Going back now means facing her parents. She looks at him with a hint of sadness. Today is my birthday. If I go back, they'll throw a party for me, right? Your Harper, don't look so down. He pulls a goofy face to cheer her up. She bursts out laughing. Just then, her phone rings again. It's her cousin, Grace. Harper answers. Harper, thank God you picked up. Where are you? I'm coming to get you. Harper gives her the address and hangs up. Max smiles. Looks like your ride is here. I didn't prepare a gift today, so I can only offer you my best birthday wishes. She beams, holding up the bunny she won. I already got my gift. And my wishes, thank you, Mac. He decides to head out before her cousin arrives. See you around. Wait, boyfriend, I haven't transferred you the money yet. Harper grabs his hand, looking like she doesn't want him to leave. He holds up the pink bear and the shopping bags. These more than cover it. She stands there, silently watching him walk away. A few minutes later, Grace pulls up. Seeing Harper hugging a stuffed bunny, she quickly jumps out of the car. Harper. Do you know how worried I was? I'm fine, Grace. Look at this bunny. Isn't it cute? Grace sighs in relief. Did you win that? No, Mac won it for me. Grace frowns. Harper, there are a lot of bad people out there. You don't even know this guy. What if he had bad intentions? Mac is a good guy. He goes to my old high school. He just left. He can't be far. Let's drive and try to catch up to him. Meanwhile, Mac is walking down the street, logging into a novel platform. He's just checking his upload when his jaw drops. The app is flooded with red notifications. A message from an editor informs him that he's eligible for a contract. He's confused. They only review drafts on Mondays, right? The editor-in-chief even left a direct message asking for his contact information. Truly, his novel was a banger, no matter which timeline he was in. At the same time, Grace was driving Harper around, trying to find Mac, but he was nowhere to be seen. Assuming he went home, Grace was about to turn around when the editor-in-chief called her. They had finally made contact with Mac and forwarded his info to her. While Grace talks on the phone, Harper is busy transferring $10,000 to Mac's account. Using a banking app, the transfer goes through before Grace can stop her. At that exact second, a phone starts ringing from the sidewalk right next to their car. By a loud automated voice, "Ding, you have received a transfer of $10,000. Grace jumped at the sound. Mac stopped walking and answered the call. "Hello, who is this?" The car window rolled down, revealing a gorgeous woman. She stared him down. Her cold voice came from the phone and the car at once. "It's me." Harper leaned over from the passenger seat, waving. "Mac, we meet again." He gave an awkward smile to the woman. "Hello, ma'am. Are you Harper's mom?" Hearing him call her ma'am, Grace's eyes widened and her face turned to ice. But she held it together, eyeing Mac coldly. "You're Mac, tell me, what's it going to take for you to leave my sister alone?" The words hit him, and Mac's brain instantly flashed with every K-drama trope. But since Harper had actually sent him the $10,000, he had to keep up the act. He couldn't let her sister find any holes. He looked her dead in the eye, his voice unwavering. "Ma'am, Harper and I are truly in love. No matter what, I will never leave her." The moment he spoke, Grace stealthily turned on her phone's voice recorder. She spoke slowly, her tone dripping with fake politeness and pure disdain. "I've seen plenty of boys like you. You say it's true love, but in the end, isn't it always a scam? My feelings for Harper are real. I'll prove it." And Harper quickly chimed in. "Mom, Mac treats me really well. Just give us a chance." Grace kept her guard up. "How did you two even meet?" "We met back in 10th grade. Even though she was only at the school for a month, she was so smart. We always discussed homework, and eventually we fell for each other." "Oh, so your grades must be excellent then." Academics was Mac's absolute stronghold. He replied with total confidence, "I'm always at the top of the school. Sometimes I even rank first in the city." Grace studied his confident expression. She thought to herself, no wonder he could write a novel with such massive world building at his age. But out loud, all she said was, "Good grades aren't enough. I understand, I may not have money right now, but that doesn't mean I won't in the future." Grace softened ever so slightly. "I believe you can make money, but I hope you're not just using my sister for some quick cash." Thinking back on his day with Harper, Mac realized that meeting someone you actually like during your youth is a massive blessing. In his past life, his youth was supposed to be sweet, but because of Kloe, it was dark and lonely. Now, with a second chance, he felt his efforts with Harper were actually being reciprocated, something Kloe had never done for him. In that moment, he realized something profound. True love is never a one-way street. Looking at Harper's flushed face, a warm feeling spread through his chest. He looked at Grace with absolute determination. "Meeting Harper is the luckiest thing that's ever happened to me. I promise you I will treat her right." Hearing his words, Harper's heart absolutely skipped a beat, her ears burning red. She had never felt this magical connection before. Grace watched them, silent. Could they really have caught feelings after just half a day? She quickly regained her composure. "Where do you live? I'll drive you. No need, I can take a cab, get in." So he gave her his address and slid into the back seat. Harper immediately hopped out of the front and squeezed in right next to him. "Boyfriend," he glanced at her. Mac shot a look at Grace. "Your mom is right there," but to his shock, Harper just burst out laughing. "You still haven't figured it out, have you? This is the cousin I told you about. Grace isn't my mom. How could she possibly look this young and be my mom?" He wanted the earth to swallow him whole. He had assumed her parents married super young, or her mom just had insane anti-aging genetics. Calling her ma'am earlier was just monumentally embarrassing. Grace chuckled. "Mac, don't worry if you're sincere about Harper. My aunt is very easygoing, though my uncle is a bit traditional. He might be the final boss you have to beat." Mac took a deep breath. "Thank you, Grace. I understand his concerns. I'll work hard to improve myself until I earn his approval." Harper's heart completely melted, and she squeezed his hand tightly. Soon the car stopped at his intersection. Harper waved at him brightly. "See you in a few days, Mac." He waved back and began walking home. But as he passed a dark alley, someone suddenly grabbed his shoulder. Reflexes kicked in. He spun around and threw a blind punch. Ouch. "Mac, are you crazy?" a familiar voice shrieked. He squinted. It was Kloe. She was rubbing her arm in pain. "It's just you. I thought you were a mugger." Kloe was furious. "Do I look like a mugger to you? And that girl today, she's your new girlfriend, isn't she?" She glared right at him. "Is that any of your business? Go home." "Kloe," he turned to walk away. Watching him leave, she stomped her foot in a rage. "Mac, you hit me. You need to apologize. If you don't, I'm telling your parents." She looked smug, expecting him to stop. He did stop, and he turned around with ice in his eyes. "Do whatever you want, but Kloe, you don't want your parents to know where you were these past 2 days, do you?" She went pale. If her parents knew she wasn't at Viven's, but at a club and an internet cafe with Chad, they'd ground her for life and force her to cut all ties with him. "If you don't want them to know, stop bothering me." She couldn't argue. Not one bit. Frustrated tears filled her eyes as she stomped her foot and ran. She ran home, trying not to cry out loud. Once in her room, she saw the pink bunny he had won for her years ago. She grabbed it, punching it a few times. Jerk. "Mac, you are the worst." Then she buried her face in her pillow and just sobbed. Just then, her phone rang. It was Viven. "Kloe, you haven't hung out with me in 2 days. I'm dying of boredom." Thinking about it, Kloe forced a smile. Even if she was annoyed, she still had fun with Chad. "I was hanging out with Chad. He's actually really sweet. He knew I hadn't had a drink before, so he ordered me a Long Island iced tea." Viven, who was lounging on her bed, shot up like she'd been electrocuted. "A Long Island iced tea? Kloe, are you sure?" Kloe was confused. "Yeah, but the bar closed early, so I didn't get to drink it." Viven let out a massive sigh of relief. "Oh my god, girl, are you that naive? A Long Island iced tea is basically pure alcohol mixed to taste sweet. 1 glass and you'd be blacked out." Kloe froze, remembering that sleazy look in Chad's eyes at the bar. A chill shot down her spine. Did he plan to do something to me? She hung up, looking at the moonlight that poured through her window, tears silently falling, thinking about her time with Chad. The initial thrill was completely gone. The way he treated her was practically garbage. The more she thought about it all, the more she regretted everything she did. Her eyes drifted towards Mac's house. She hadn't touched the cake. Instead, she bolted upstairs to Grace's room, forwarding the voice recording of his confession to her mom, then went to the balcony to call him. "Mac, you're the author of The Flawless Realm, aren't you?" Mac just laughed. "Wow, you and Mr. Harrison really do your homework, huh?" Grace chuckled. "You think my uncle and I are the FBI? I'm the CEO of Tomato Novels, the site you uploaded to." Mac was genuinely stunned. Are you serious? I am, and I see massive potential in your book. Sign an exclusive contract with me, okay, but wait. Is your company in some kind of trouble? Grace laughed. You're too smart. Just sign the contract. You keep updating, and I will plaster your book on every single front-page banner we have. Mac took a deep breath. If you're offering that, he'd be an idiot to refuse. After the call, he looked up Tomato Novels platform, a site he'd never heard of in his past life. It felt like the butterfly effect was in full swing, and he was the one causing the storm. Time flew by. A week after signing, his novel hit 200,000 words. Grace kept her promise and promoted it to the moon. The novel exploded. The plot had readers absolutely hooked, and site traffic went insane. Grace's phone was ringing non-stop. Harper put down the manuscript she was reading. Grace, why is your phone blowing up today? Grace pinched her cheek. Ask your boyfriend. That book you told me to read, the one he wrote, it's literally breaking the internet right now. Harper gasped, covering her mouth. Wait, my boyfriend wrote this. Yep. The IT department just told me our servers are about to crash from all the traffic. Your guy is a genius, Harper beamed with pure pride. During that same week, Kloe was having a total meltdown. She'd ignored Chad for days, but she finally caved to his relentless begging. Then, pressured by him, she made the impulsive choice to get a tattoo. Almost immediately after, the intense regret hit hard. If her dad found out, she was dead. If her classmates saw it, the gossip would be unbearable. Her very first instinct was to Google how to remove it. Learning about laser removal, she could finally breathe again. The next morning, Mac got a text from Harper saying she had a surprise for him today, but no matter how hard he asked, she wouldn't budge. He biked to school. As he locked it up, a black Audi Q7 pulled up to the gates. The window rolled down, revealing Kloe's dad, Mr. Carter. He smiled. Mac, long time no see. Morning, Mr. Carter. You're dropping her off today. The man smiled helplessly. Kloe's mom forced me to. Kloe, go walk with Mac. Kloe got out, looking thoroughly annoyed. Mr. Carter waved, then drove off. Mac ignored her, walking straight for the school building. She huffed. I'm not talking to him until he apologizes. Let's see who cracks first. They walked to class in dead silence. Back at their desks, Harry leaned over with a wicked grin. Dude, you're a legend. I thought you were dying of a broken heart, but you secretly got a 10 out of 10 girlfriend. Mac just rolled his eyes. When was my heart ever broken? Move, let me study. The teacher was lecturing passionately, but Kloe wasn't listening. She was stressing about her tattoo and the fact that she had argued with Chad until 3 a.m. Just as she was about to doze off, the teacher called on her. Kloe, come solve this equation. She shot to her feet, staring at the board in a panic she'd completely forgotten. The standard formula, now stuck using a painfully long and convoluted method instead. She solved it. The teacher nodded slowly, confirming it was correct, but told her to use the standard formula next time because it was simpler. Kloe flushed, that week with Chad had practically wiped her brain clean. Later, in Miss Turner's literature class, she was called on to recite a poem. She stuttered through it, only finishing. Because the acne-faced guy whispered the lines to her, she thanked him, then just stared. At her desk, lost in her own thoughts, 20 minutes later, the clicking of high heels. Miss Turner walked in with a bright smile, followed by a stunningly elegant girl. The new girl stood at the podium, instantly stealing all the attention in the room. Kloe gripped her pen tightly. That girl looked way too familiar. Immediately, the whole class erupted into whispers. Harry's eyes nearly popped out of his skull's sister-in-law. He violently shoved Mac's shoulder. Mac, look, it's her. Mac looked up and there was Harper at the front. His jaw literally dropped open. Harper saw him and flashed a radiant smile, one that practically said, surprise. Miss Turner clapped her hands. Quiet down, everyone. This is Harper. She was in the arts track in 10th grade, but due to health reasons, she was homeschooled. Now she's back. Hearing that name, Kloe instantly realized this was the girl who had dragged him out of the bar. Seeing Mac's happy expression, Kloe seethed. Her blood was boiling. Harper realized she's more suited for the sciences. Track, so she's transferring to our class, Miss Turner explained, after Harper's introduction. Harry scanned the classroom. The only empty seat left was way in the back corner. He grinned wickedly. Mac, for the sake of your future happiness, he began. I will make the ultimate sacrifice. Don't you dare waste this assist, bro. Before Mac could even process what was happening, Harry's hand shot up in the air. Miss Turner, Harper has a weak constitution, right, sitting in that back corner. Might be bad for her, she can have my seat, Mrs. Turner beamed. Harry, what a? Gentlemen, Mac, you make sure to help her get caught up. Harry headed for the back. Harry grabbed his books and bolted, shooting Mac a wink on the way. Mac just shook his head. He was half annoyed, half amused. Yep, still the ultimate wingman, Harper then. Walked over and sat down, giving Mac a sweet smile. Hi Mac, please take care of me from now on, Mac smiled. Welcome back Harper, just ask if you need any help. She leaned on the desk, tilting her head. Is there anything you don't know? Mac, her adorable gesture made him quickly look away. Of course there's an ocean of knowledge out there. You're from the arts track, so I'll be asking you for help too. Harper leaned in close to his ear and whispered, boyfriend, let's study hard together. He leaned back and whispered, aren't you afraid people will hear? Just call me Mac at school. She blushed a deep red and giggled shyly. Suddenly, a classmate tapped Harper on the shoulder. Hey, pass this note on to Mac. Harper paused for a second, then handed him the folded paper. Someone sent this. He opened it. It was Kloe's handwriting. Mac, I've realized that I don't really like Chad anymore. Can we just pretend none of this happened? He read it, then ripped it into confetti and tossed it straight into the trash can. Kloe watched him do it, nearly biting her lip off in anger. Since the monthly exams were coming up, the tension in the class was thick. Harper and Mac were constantly discussing problems. They worked through problems, cheering each other on. Their bond just grew stronger. Mac genuinely loved this dynamic. Harper was gentle, thoughtful, sharing all the small things. She was nothing like Kloe, who always acted like some spoiled princess. Watching them made Kloe feel physically sick. She'd completely ignored Chad. She'd even tried making peace with Mac, but he was having none of it. He treated her like she didn't exist, so seeing him smile at Harper, she finally snapped. After school, Kloe stormed right up to his desk. Mac, you used to say you only treated me well. I forbid you to smile at her. I forbid you to be nice to her. He just gave her a blank stare. Kloe, listen to yourself. You sound absolutely insane. Why on earth would I ever listen to you? Harper, remembering the ripped note, put the pieces together instantly. She offered Kloe a polite smile. Kloe, I understand you might have special feelings for Mac, but real relationships are built on mutual respect. You should respect Mac's choices. Kloe glared right back. What are you implying? That I don't respect his choices? Harper just smiled faintly. Isn't it obvious? Harper, I demand you switch seats with me. Mac let out a cold laugh. Kloe, these aren't musical chairs, if you really want to switch seats that badly. Go talk to Miss Turner. Kloe flinched. Go to Miss Turner, she was already on thin ice for ditching class. That was basically walking right into the lion's den. She stomped back to her seat, buried her face in her arms, and began to cry silently. Mac, you jerk, what does she have that I don't? That very afternoon, during the 2-hour break, Mac glanced around the near-empty room. It was empty except for Kloe, still burying her head, and Harper sitting right beside him. Let's go grab some food, Harper. I'll give you the grand tour of the school. And even though Harper really wanted to go, she was worried about his upcoming exams. Mac, you don't have to. We've got plenty of time for that. You should study. Come on, let's go. As they stood, Harper glanced at Kloe. Shouldn't we wake her up? Mac didn't even look over. No need. She has a best friend and a boyfriend. They can worry about her. We're not needed. Hearing their footsteps fade, Kloe lifted Her eyes were completely bloodshot as she watched them go. Mac, you jerk. Why do you like her and not me? He gave Harper the grand tour, and when they reached the sports field, she looked at the students playing with absolute envy in her eyes. What sports do you like? He asked. She lowered her head. I was always sick. So my parents never let me play. I don't really know. Sorry, I shouldn't have. She looked up and smiled brightly. It's okay. I'm a lot healthier now, you know. I can play some of the easier stuff. Then I'll teach you ping pong sometime. They walked over to the geography garden where various terrain models were displayed. As a former art student, Harper lit up. Mac, thanks for showing me around. Now let me show you my world. She passionately pointed out all the models. Explaining everything from the Himalayas to the Mariana Trench, her storytelling was so captivating, it was like she transported him to another world. Harper, you're an amazing storyteller, way better than our actual geography teacher. Oh, stop it. I'm not that good, she said, though a proud smile spread across her face. They grabbed food and started heading back. Then his phone rang. It was Uncle Tom. He told Harper to go ahead of him and stepped outside to answer the call. Did you get the evidence on Chad bullying the other students? He asked impatiently. Mac was ready. His guys had recovered the security footage that family tried to destroy, along with all the witness statements. Everything was prepared. Thanks, Uncle, he chuckled. He was so tired of the Sterling family's arrogance. This had been coming for a while. They absolutely brought this on themselves. He thought about the student whose leg Chad had broken. That boy's mother worked at the Sterling family's factory, forced into insane overtime until her arm got caught. The machine mangled it so badly it had to be amputated, instead of paying medical bills. The factory blamed her for damaging equipment and demanded millions in compensation. Mac took a deep breath. Uncle, that's pure evil, he said. The plan was set. He would leak Chad's bullying videos online, letting the media swarm once the public was watching. Then his uncle would drop the bomb about the factory, burying them. After hanging up, Mac remembered the blade Chad had shoved into his chest. The memory of his past life brought a grim smile. He received the files. Using a burner account, he blasted everything all over the internet, inside the classroom. Kloe was feeling utterly humiliated. Chad had just come to find her, but then things went sideways. A classmate bumped into him, and Chad completely lost his mind. He just started beating the kid up. Luckily, a teacher intervened and hauled Chad off to the office, but the whispers in the room were brutal. What is wrong with Kloe? She dumped Mac for a literal psycho. Seriously, what a downgrade. I guess being blind is a choice. Every word felt like a knife twisting inside her. She finally began to question if choosing Chad had been a massive mistake, right before the bell rang. Mac felt a stare. He looked up. It was Kloe looking right at him. The second their eyes met, she snapped her head away and hurried out with Vivan. Vivan even had the nerve to stick her tongue out at him. Kloe just sighed. She just followed her friend out. Mac turned to Harper. It's late, I'll walk you home. Harper blinked. Just to the gate is fine. In truth, she hated going back to an empty house. At the main gate, a Rolls-Royce honked twice. She looked at him nervously. Mac, you want my driver to take you? He shook his head. I'm good, I've got my bike. She waved and jumped in. And then Kloe's voice called out his name. He saw her, alone on the sidewalk, looking pathetic. But Mac acted like he was deaf, grabbed his bike, and just started walking away. Kloe's eyes instantly filled with tears. Her parents were busy that night and couldn't get her, telling her to just get a ride from Mac. But he didn't even look at her. The thought of the dark walk home made her panic. She ran to block his path. Mac, take me home. He didn't even glance her way. My parents are busy. Mom told me to go with you, she pleaded, and as she spoke, the streetlights above them suddenly flickered and then went out. The entire area was plunged into darkness. Please, Mac, I'm scared. His only response was the clicking sound of his bike chain as he pedaled off. Use your phone's flashlight, I'm busy. Kloe watched him disappear into the dark. A feeling of total abandonment washed over her. She recalled Viven's silly warnings. Walking alone at night is dangerous. What if some thugs kidnap you and sell you to some creep in the mountains? She stood there, shivering, too terrified to move a single inch. As Mac rode on, a Mercedes approached. A car pulled up. The window rolled down to reveal his dad, Arthur. "Dad, what are you doing here?" Arthur smiled. "Work ended early. Figured I'd swing by." "Where's Kloe?" Mr. Carter asked us to drop her off, but Mac stayed silent for a moment. "She's back there. I'll go get her." Even though he despised her, their families were too close. He couldn't just leave her in a pitch-black intersection. Mac turned his bike around. He found Kloe crouched on the sidewalk, crying softly and muttering his name. "Kloe, next time you need a ride, call an Uber." "I'm not doing this again." She looked up, her face streaked with tears. "Mac, I knew you wouldn't leave me." He ignored her completely and just started riding away. Her knee was still healing, so she limped painfully just to keep up. Seeing his back, she remembered all the times he had walked her home. Strangely, just having him nearby made her feel safe again, but his coldness completely confused her. "Mac, you read my note, didn't you?" She waited for an answer, but he gave her nothing. Just silence. She felt a profound, crushing loneliness, like an abandoned stray cat. When they reached his dad's car, he still didn't say a single word. Kloe got into the passenger seat. His dad looked over. "Can't you open the door for her? She has hands." His dad's face hardened, realizing his mom was right. Mac really didn't like Kloe anymore. Kloe quickly intervened. "It's fine, Mr. Arthur. I can do it myself." He just sighed and started the car. 3 days later, the internet was ablaze with the Sterling family drama, but Chad. He was strutting around school like he owned the place, thinking his dad's money would make everything magically disappear. During lunch, he came to their class looking for Kloe, but ended up picking a fight with another student. He brutally beat the kid down. The rest of the class was furious, but absolutely terrified. Chad soaked in their fear, feeling like a total boss and smirking at Kloe to show off how tough he was. But Harper wasn't having any of it. She had already called the cops. Hanging up, she stood and glared at him. "How dare you bully people like this?" Chad was about to curse her out, but when he saw Harper's face, he just froze. He'd been drinking and hadn't realized a girl this gorgeous was in their class. He reached out, trying to touch her face. Harper slapped his hand away. Hard, enraged, Chad raised his fist, and right at that moment, Mac walked into the room. He grabbed a massive, brick-like English dictionary and launched it straight at Chad's head. Chad howled in pain. He spun around, saw Mac, and completely lost his mind. He charged, throwing a wild haymaker. But Mac casually raised his hand, caught the fist midair, and twisted it sharply. "Mac, you piece of trash. You dare hit me? Do you know who my dad is?" Mac scoffed. "You assault people and still try to play the victim. So what if your dad is Mr. Sterling? This is a school, not your personal playground." Chad gritted his teeth, wanting to throw more threats, but the look in Mac's eyes made him swallow his words. Mac looked over at Harper, giving her a reassuring nod. The entire class erupted into tears, looking at him like he was their hero. Chad's face was purple with pure humiliation. Getting embarrassed in front of Kloe was the ultimate insult. "You're dead, Mac," he roared, trying to bolt out the door to save face. But Mac stepped right in his way. "Where do you think you're going? The cops aren't here yet. Sit down like a good boy and wait for them." He struggled wildly. "I'm leaving." "Who's going to stop me?" "I am." Miss Turner's voice sliced right through the noise. "Chad, you are accused of assault. You're not leaving until your parents end. The police handle this." Panicking, Chad whipped out his phone. "Dad, I'm getting bullied by some kid in class." Hearing that phone call, the whole class buzzed with excitement. They all knew what was coming. A few other kids even grabbed their own phones. "Hello, Dad. Yeah, cancel the contract with the Sterlings." Some blonde punk is assaulting people in my class. "Auntie, yeah, cut ties with the Sterling factory." Seeing this insane escalation, Chad was just completely stunned. In the Principal's office, Mr. Sterling was discussing a massive donation for the school. For a new science building, hearing his son's call, he frowned and abruptly hung up. He shot a glare at the principal. Principal Lewis, my son is being bullied. At your school, how exactly are you running this place? Principal Lewis knew instantly. Mr. Sterling was ruthless, but this mess involved tons of kids from powerful families. If he mishandled this, he'd offend all of them. Sterling, I was just informed. We will investigate and handle it fairly, but Mr. Sterling just sneered. Fairly, you know how much money I pump into this school. I expect a satisfactory answer. Principal Lewis took a shaky breath. Losing the Sterling money would be a disaster. He hurried to the classroom, after hearing the students and teachers recount the events. He silently cursed Chad's entire family. He never should have accepted this kid. He only took the brat for the donation. To save his own job, he looked at Mac. He ordered Mac, let him go. Both of you step outside. Ms. Turner's face showed pure disgust. Are you planning to sweep this under the rug, Principal? Everyone calm down, Lewis announced. I will have Chad's parents take him home. He will be disciplined and won't return until he corrects his behavior. As for Mac, go home for a few days to cool off. The classics suspend them both tactic. Mac frowned. If the principal did this, Chad would get off scot-free. The class was outraged. Are you kidding me? Chad assaulted someone and there's proof. Mac was just defending people. Why does he have to go home? Lewis's face darkened. Enough, I don't care who started it. Both of you go home and reflect on your actions. Chad shot Mac a triumphant smirk. See that, Mac? Now do you understand? A broke loser like you can't touch me. Principal Lewis visibly cringed. This idiot kid really didn't know when to shut his mouth, facing Lewis's blatant corruption. Mac stared him down cold. Chad openly assaulted a student and tried to attack me. The whole class saw it. He acted in self-defense, if you let him off. Just because his dad is a donor, where is the justice in this school? If you insist on this, don't blame me for exposing your negligence to the media. Lewis went pale. He never expected a high schooler to threaten him like this. In the internet age, public opinion was a deadly weapon. If he blew this up, he'd be forced to resign by tomorrow. He gritted his teeth, ready to finally compromise. He was about to expel Chad, but suddenly, Mr. Sterling burst into the room with his men. Who the hell is Mac? Mac didn't flinch, staring right back at him. Looks like someone's in a hurry, Principal. Lewis started to panic. Mr. Sterling. Please, we are handling it. Handling it. My son was attacked. How are you going to fix this? Mr. Sterling then turned to Mac. You're Mac. I heard you're good at fighting. Let's see just how tough you really are. Then Harper stepped in front to protect him. Of him grabbing his hand tightly, he just smiled at her. It's okay, Grace. Mac turned back to Mr. Sterling, a cold smirk playing on his lips. News of Sterling's horrific labor practices was exploding all over the internet. It was online and now in the hands of the authorities. The storm had arrived. You think you own this city, Mr. Sterling? Mac asked, his voice dripping with mockery. Crushing a bug like you is effortless, he sneered back. Apologize to my son. Get on your knees now, or you'll spend the rest of your life in jail. Mr. Sterling, you should really check the news. You might find a fun surprise. Sterling ignored him, but then his private phone rang. A single drop of sweat formed. He knew what that line meant. Absolute emergencies only. Boss, we're ruined. Everything's leaked. The police are raiding the factory. Mr. Sterling froze in place. The phone slipped from his grasp. He remembered Mac's words and glared, pure demon. You did this, you little punk. Don't flatter me. Didn't you do all this yourself? Sterling ground his teeth, roaring. Mac, you destroyed my life's work. Even if I go to prison, I'm taking you with me. He then signaled his bodyguards. You've got a lot of nerve, Sterling, thinking you actually run things around here. A booming voice echoed from the doorway. It was none other than Mr. Harrison. Harper's father strode in, flanked by the chief of police and other officials. Sterling turned around, saw the powerhouse lineup, and his face went pale. He saw the absolute power in the room and just collapsed onto the floor. He knew it was over. He turned and started screaming at Chad, blaming him. Blaming him for everything. The class erupted in laughter, a real dog-eat-dog show. Chad was done for, expelled, probably headed to juvie, his face flushed with panic. Kloe, you're my girlfriend, he pleaded desperately. Come with me. To the police station, the entire class turned, all eyes fixed squarely on Kloe. Their stares were full of judgment. If she sided with him now, it's social suicide. She'd be treated like radioactive waste. Kloe immediately backed away. I am not going. The truth is, she never really liked him anyway, just the attention she got from being with the school's bad boy. Now, he was just a stain on her reputation. Seeing her classmates disgust, she panicked. Chad was in utter disbelief. His eyes filled with pure venomous hatred as he locked his gaze onto Mac. Mac, this is all your fault, he screamed as police moved in to drag him away. The class cheered. Mac followed behind to give his statement, but then disaster struck. In the hallway, he spotted a distracted officer and made his move. A concealed switchblade in his hand, he lunged straight for Mac. Harper saw. She saw the flash of steel and screamed, Mac, look out, before lunging forward. Trying to use her own body as a shield, seeing her move, Mac's eyes widened. Grabbing her waist, he spun them both around, pulling her tightly into his chest. Slice. The blade tore through his arm, leaving a deep, nasty wound, but thankfully, it missed anything vital. The police instantly tackled Chad right to the ground. He screamed in pure rage as they pinned him down. Mac, Harper cried, seeing the blood. Soaking through his sleeve, she burst into tears. Mac, are you okay? She cried. She ripped off her jacket, tying it tightly above the wound to stop the bleeding. He forced a smile. I'm fine, don't cry. The other students swarmed out, terrified and worried, but Kloe just stood frozen in the doorway, in absolute shock. Rejection triggered this. Guilt and horror swallowed her whole. Mac. Are you okay? She cried out. The school nurse sprinted down the hall, doing basic first aid. It didn't hit an artery, but he needs to get to the hospital. For stitches immediately, Mr. Harrison pushed through the crowd, grabbing Harper. Harper, are you hurt? I'm fine, but Mac is bleeding. Dad, get the car. We have to take him to the hospital. Hearing Harper call him Dad, Mr. Harrison felt a surge of pure joy, ordering his bodyguards to help get Mac onto a stretcher. Harper walked right beside him, holding his uninjured hands so tightly. You're going to be okay, boyfriend. You'll be okay, he nodded, face pale from blood loss. And seeing that, Harper's tears fell even harder. At the hospital, he was rushed into the ER. Harper paced anxiously outside. For the first time in her life, someone had genuinely put their life right on the line for her. She had tried to take the knife, but he overpowered her to take the hit instead. She knew she would never, ever forget the feeling of being protected like this. Harper, Harper. Kloe's voice echoed down the hall. Is Mac okay? Harper looked at her, her expression impossible to read. He'll be fine. Kloe, if you have nothing else to do, you should go home. I'll take care of him. Kloe felt a knot in her stomach. Mac and I are childhood friends. Our families are super close. Seeing him hurt breaks my heart. Harper's emotions were complicated, but she stood her ground. If you want to wait, find a seat. Mr. Harrison walked over, his face etched with pure worry. Harper, are you sure you aren't hurt? She just shook her head, staring at the ER doors. Mr. Harrison remembered when Mac shielded his daughter and the bold words he'd spoken to Grace just the other night. He sighed heavily. This kid is going to be all right. When Mac finally opened his eyes, he saw Harper standing by his bed, holding his hand, her eyes shining with unshed tears. Mac, you're awake, don't move, your stitches might tear. Mr. Harrison stepped forward, looking at the boy with a complex expression. Rest up, Mac. This ordinary-looking teenager had, in a split second of pure danger, risked his own life to save his daughter. Mac looked at the billionaire. In his past life, he only ever saw this man on Forbes lists and news broadcasts. I'm fine, Mr. Harrison, thank you for your concern, but Mr. Harrison looked him dead in the eye. Mac, why did you take a knife for Harper? If he had aimed just an inch to the left, you could be dead right now. Mac looked at Harper, his eyes full of warmth. Because Harper is the most important person in my life. I couldn't let her get hurt. His voice was unwavering. From the second she tried to jump in front of that blade. He knew he was completely in love with this girl, who was willing to die for him. Just outside the slightly open door, Kloe heard every single word, her heart shattered into a million pieces. The one thing that used to be solely hers was now impossibly far away, and the worst part. She had pushed him away with her own two hands, looking completely defeated. She turned and walked away like a ghost, disappearing down the long corridor. At that moment, Lily, Harper's mom, came rushing into the hospital. Seeing Kloe's zombie-like walk, she paused. Why does that girl look like her entire world just ended? She shook it off and hurried into the room. Harper, she hugged her daughter tightly, her eyes filled with raw distress. You scared me to death. Mom, I'm okay, but Matt's hurt. Lily then turned to Mac, her gaze evaluating but filled with deep gratitude. Your Mac, thank you for saving my baby. You are a very brave young man. Her sudden warmth caught him by surprise. Thank you, ma'am. It was the only right thing to do. Mr. Harrison just watched the interaction. Initially, he had completely written Mac off. The kid didn't have the background to give Harper a life of luxury. But today, he saw something else. What was money? He didn't lack money. Compared to the useless trust fund kids in his circle, Mac possessed real courage and accountability. You can't put a price on that. Harper, go for a walk with your mother. Get some fresh air. I want to speak to Mac alone. Harper hesitated, glancing between them before her mom gently pulled her away. Once outside, Harper didn't see Kloe. Mom, did you see the girl who was sitting out here? I saw a girl walking away when I came in. She probably went to get some air. Back in the room, Mr. Harrison walked over to the window, lost in his own thoughts. He finally turned back, his gaze piercing. Mac, I'll admit I judged you prematurely. I didn't think you could possibly bring Harper happiness, but today I saw your bravery. That is something money can't buy. Mr. Harrison, I understand your worries, but please believe me. I will do everything in my power to make her happy. I believe your intentions are real. But good intentions aren't nearly enough for me to hand my daughter over to you. Oh, Mac knew exactly what the man meant. He had no money, no career, no status. If he hadn't literally bled for his daughter today, this man wouldn't even be having this conversation with him. But his words were also an open door. If he hadn't been reborn, he and Harper would truly belong to two completely different worlds. Rebirth hadn't given him enough time to build his empire. And being looked down upon stung badly, but give him 1 year and he knew he'd crush his first financial milestone. Mr. Harrison laughed, a deep, genuine sound. You're straightforward, not like those corporate yes men who just kiss up to me. You're right, my empire will go to Harper, but she's far too soft-hearted to run the Harrison Group. I need someone to stand beside her and to hold the fort. If that person only has love and no ambition, I will never approve the marriage. He crossed his arms, looking like a true titan of industry. Here is my bottom line. Within 3 years, you have to make $1 billion. He stared at Mac intensely. If Mac accepted, he would secretly pave the way for him. But if he flinched, he would ruthlessly sever the relationship with his daughter for good. He had no use for a coward. Mr. Harrison, I accept your terms, a challenge for a reincarnator. He had a photographic memory of the future. If he can't make $1 billion in 3 years, he might as well throw himself back in front of Chad's blade. It would be a disgrace to the very concept of rebirth. Mr. Harrison was floored. He hadn't expected the kid to agree so fast, without even a flicker of hesitation. Right at that moment, rapid footsteps echoed outside before the door was thrown wide open. Grace burst into the room, completely out of breath. Lily looked surprised. Grace, weren't you flying back to the capital city this morning? What happened? Auntie, it is an absolute emergency. I have to talk to Mac. Mr. Harrison looked completely lost. Why would the CEO of a tech company be looking for a high school kid like his life depended on it? He could see the desperation in her eyes. Wait, Grace has a crush on Mac. Impossible. Her uncle decides to play the considerate relative, sighing dramatically. All right, guess he's the third wheel here. He'll just step out so they can talk. Mac looked at Grace, highly amused by the sheer chaos unfolding before him. Grace, what's with the panic? He chuckled, breaking the awkward silence as Mr. Harrison shut the door. Grace rested her hands on her knees, panting hard. Before shoving her burning hot phone into his hands, Mac, are you serious? The Flawless Realm didn't just crash the Tomato Novels server, the two biggest entertainment giants in the country and a top-tier Japanese animation studio just called him directly. They want to buy all the adaptation rights. The price offered, oh my God, it's enough to save her company 10 times over. Mac glanced at the numbers dancing on the screen as the corner of his lips curled up. Of course, a masterpiece is a masterpiece, no matter the era, but sell. Not a chance, that wasn't how a future billionaire operated. Grace, he replied calmly, his eyes sharp, we're not selling, I need you to negotiate for me. He's keeping a 40% equity stake in all adaptations, anime, live action, and games. In return, he will invest the entire first licensing fee right back into Tomato Novels, completely restructuring it into a multimedia entertainment empire. He will be the biggest shareholder, and she will stay on as the CEO. Grace was speechless. Standing in front of her wasn't some high school kid who just survived an attack, but a true veteran of the business world. She swallowed hard and nodded firmly. Deal, I'm on it. Then she was gone. The hospital room door creaked open again slightly. Mr. Harrison stepped back inside. He'd been standing outside, listening to the entire thing. The look he gave Mac now wasn't just approval, but a flash of absolute astonishment and pride. That 1 billion bet in 3 years, it seemed this kid was going to clear it way sooner than anyone thought. 3 years later, on a giant LED screen downtown, the trailer for Season 2 of the blockbuster anime, The Flawless Realm, was playing, capturing millions of eyes. The M&H Entertainment Group logo sat proudly on screen as the main producer and global distributor. Across the street, in a dirty coffee shop, Kloe stood in a messy waitress uniform, staring up blankly. Her eyes were just hollow, full of exhaustion and absolute, crushing regret. After that incident with Chad, the Sterling family went completely bankrupt, and he was now rotting in prison, serving a 10-plus-year sentence. As for Kloe, she was drowning in scandals and cut off by everyone. She failed her college entrance exams, and her family had taken a huge financial hit after her father's business collapsed. Vivan, her former best friend, had vanished long ago. What are you staring at? Did you finish wiping down table 4? The manager's barking yanked Kloe back to her miserable reality. She ducked her head, quickly hiding the newspaper she was holding. On the front page was Mac, one of the youngest billionaires in the world, holding hands with his beautiful fiancée, Harper, at their engagement party. He was wearing a perfectly tailored suit, his smile radiating pure confidence and power, a smile that once upon a time had been meant only for her. Kloe bit her lips. Her heart bled as salty tears fell onto the grimy table. It felt like it was being shredded by 1,000 shards of glass. She had once possessed the brightest diamond in the world, only to throw it in the mud with her own hands, all to chase a worthless pebble. Now she would only live the rest of her days in suffocating regret, looking up at the man she once trampled on, the man who now stood at the absolute pinnacle of success. Yet at that exact moment, on the top floor of that corporate tower, he was hugging Harper from behind, looking out at the dazzling city lights together. Mac, you really are amazing. Harper rested her head gently on his shoulder, smiling. My dad was grumbling yesterday about how you made $1 billion in just 2.5 years, making him lose their bet. He tightened his arms around her, kissing her soft hair. The promise he made in that hospital all those years ago, he had fulfilled it and even surpassed all expectations. That's because you're my lucky star, he whispered, in his past life. He had lived like a complete fool, sacrificing everything for a childish promise, only to receive a bitter death in return. But in this life, fate gave him a second chance. He crushed those who stood in his way, found the girl who truly deserved his love, and wrote the perfect ending to his very own story. The real cheat code for his rebirth wasn't his memory. It was learning to value himself and seize his own true happiness. And the story of his life, from this moment forward, was finally starting its most brilliant chapters.